Hey there everyone, my name is Jaycee. Welcome to my channel. This video is part of an Altenew release and video hop full of my favorite YouTubers. If you're hopping along and this is your first time to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you've stopped by. Card making is not my full-time passion. Instead, I'm a full-time laboratory scientist, but I draw a lot of inspiration mostly from geometry, tattoo art, and botanical illustration. For my two card projects, I'll be showcasing the Altenew July 2020 Summer of Fun stamp release and pairing it with some other recent Altenew favorites of mine. All of the materials I used in my card projects can be found in the description box below. While you're there, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment for an entry into the giveaway. Details on that and the talented team who are joining me on this video hop can also be found in the description box. Okay, so let's take a look at what I got from the Summer Fun release from Altenew. Up first is this 6x8 stamp set, mask stencil, and die set bundle called Nature Blossoms. Side note, I'm on the Altenew video inspiration team, so be sure to subscribe to the Altenew channel because this stamp set will be featured in a perfect pairing with yours truly very soon. This is the adorable circled greetings love die. There are other sentiment circles, but this is the one I have, so make sure to check out the rest of the collection linked below. Mega Label Love 4x6 Sentiment Stamp Set. The original Label Love is one of the first stamp sets I bought from Altenew, so I'm excited for this oversized version. Lastly, I have Geometric Elements 6x8 Stamp and Die Bundle. As I mentioned earlier, I love pulling geometry and shapes into my card projects, so this one is perfect as well. For my first card, I'll start with the Circled Greetings Love die. This die cuts out a negative space circle and leaves a floating brush lettered sentiment. In order to create a continuous frame, I pulled out this appropriately sized nesting circle die from my collection and taped the two dies together. Now, when I run this through my die cutting machine, I'll get a framed sentiment. I went ahead and cut two more of these and stacked them for a more chipboard element. I'll set that aside and pull out the Celebrate collection and collaboration with Altenew and Pink Fresh Studio. Now, I struggle with pattern paper, but I could not resist putting these two beautiful papers together from the 6x6 paper pad. I'll trim and glue down this brush stroke and leaf sketched background onto my note card base, and already this showcases this circled greetings die perfectly. But we will take this a step further and create something a little more out of the ordinary with this second panel of cardstock. I have this pink and gray watercolor floral paper, and I'll very roughly fussy cut a few of the floral elements from this paper. You'll see here I'm not so worried about perfection because we can hide a lot of the half pieces or pieces that are difficult to fussy cut under other elements. I'll bring back my watercolor type background and begin playing around with the abstract arrangement. I've just glued down the Circle Greetings Love stack die cut, but I only applied glue to the circle portion of the paper. This is so I can tuck the fussy cut flowers behind the sentiment. As I'm playing around with placement, I was looking for an overall full arrangement, but only on part of the circle. I was going for a half wreath of sorts, and when I got to the last smallest flower, I foam mounted it and worked on the last element to this card. To balance out the circular flowing script and the circle form, I pulled out this rectangular and rigid Mega Label Love stamp set. I only stamped and cut the U portion of the Miss You sentiment in blush crisp dye ink. I foam mounted this element as well. The last thing I added to this card was some gold splatters. I used enchanted gold from the 14 metallic watercolor pan set to gently embellish this card. And that's it for this bright pink and mostly paper pieced card with one stamped element. Speaking of paper piecing, I brought back the 6x6 paper pad and this white dotted pattern paper from my second card project. I trimmed it down to 3 3/4 by 5 inches so that I have a substantial white margin on top of a panel of white cardstock, cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I made a half yellow gradient on the white cardstock that matched the yellow on the pattern paper with citrus burst and fresh lemon crisp dye inks. I love my Altenew large ergonomic blending brushes because they're foolproof and for hard ink blenders like me, and they don't hurt my hands as much as other brushes. Even if I try to mess up the gradient, it still blends flawlessly. I adhered this blended panel and the pattern paper on top of my note card base and set this aside while I work on the abstract focal point to this card. I have the 6x8 Nature Blossoms stamp and die set here. There is a mask stencil bundle, but I'll set this aside for a future project. I'm just going to refer to the layering guide found on the trifold and follow the color palette illustrated along the side here. I knew this palette would work wonderfully with the yellow spotted background I made earlier. So the three ink families are Green Fields, Sweet Dreams, and Fall Harvest. Again, following the layering guide, I'll ink up the flowers using the following Altenew inks. I'll start with the outline layer in jet black, then stamp the leaves with the first solid layer in frayed leaf. For the second layer, I'll ink the stamps in Forest Glades, then Evergreen for the final layer. That finishes the leaves and the Green Fields family of inks. So now I'll stamp the first base layer of the flowers in Dewdrops, the second layer in Aqualicious, and the last detail layers in Galactic Stream and Teal Cave for some flower variation. I'll finish the centers of the flower with the Fall Harvest inks, and those are the flower and foliage images complete. I'll use the coordinating die cuts to cut out all 5 of the images and set them aside while I work on the abstract element of this card. Now I've got the geometric elements stamp and die set. Nothing fancy about this. I simply gold heat embossed a few of the outline images onto vellum and die cut them with the coordinating dies. Like the previous card, I'll fly through this planning portion. I drew inspiration from watercolor crystal and flower images, sometimes found on boho type artwork. But for my card, I wanted something bright and abstract, so I went for a more jagged arrangement instead of something soft and romantic. I hope to do this again with fewer geometric elements for a different look, but I love the sharp angles of the final arrangement. I used Glad press and seal to pick everyone up at the same time and apply glue on the back. I foam mounted the flower in the foreground to add some depth to this composition. Lastly, I white heat embossed the smile sentiment from the geometric element stamp set onto some coordinating gold mirror cardstock and foam mounted it as well. So these are my 2 bright abstract floral card projects using the Altenew Summer Fun stamp release. I hope this video gave you a different perspective on how to stylize your cards. I had a lot of fun making these, and I'm excited for you to find the next amazing crafter in the video. Hop in the description box below. Before you head over to the next video, make sure you let me know what you think of my cards in the comments. It'll enter you into the generous giveaway from Altenew. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel for more card making and paper crafting content. Thank you so much for watching, and have the best day.